I'm pretty young at this point. I think I was right at about 5 years old, and I wasn't feeling well. Just a kid. You kind of sick to the stomach. Got the flu thing going on, and I'm like, man, this is bad. It's, again, kids' perspective. I'm like, man, I gotta make sure I'm good. And having been in church probably since week 2, I remember at that moment committed my life to Jesus. God, I'm with you. I want to be, because I didn't know what's going on as a kid, and of course my little sickness blew over. But that's when I committed my life to Jesus. My name is Dave Enns. I'm one of the pastors here at North Coast. I want to share with you my story, and it began right there. As I was not feeling well, I committed my life to Jesus, and it continued on. A little did I know how God was going to continue to work, not just over the next year and years, but for the rest of my life. And one of the things that happened during my younger years is, for some reason, I was running into different physical ailments, things. Now, some of you are going, Dave, you're a desert rat. You ride motorcycle and bicycle, and you bring all those kind of accidents and things on yourself. And my answer is not really. There's a couple of those in there, but it was other things that happened, and God continued to get my attention. And one specific, don't worry, I'm not going to tell them all to you, was I was in 7th grade. We were coming home from a trip, and on the freeway, and our car, we were suddenly in a head-on accident with a truck hitting us, stopping us dead in our tracks. And we all lived in that car in that accident, but we were really, really lucky. And I remember waking up the next morning. I don't remember the accident. I was asleep when it happened. And I remember waking up the next morning in the hospital, and it was surreal. I'll never forget it. And it's like you don't know what happened, where you are, and why you are the way you are. And I was pretty bashed up. And again, fortunate to make it. And when I thought I was going to get to go home from the hospital, they suddenly were sending me to another one. And it finds out that I'm actually having seizures almost every 60 seconds. They weren't obvious. Some of them were. And people began to pray, and I didn't know what was going on. And I remember asking my mom, why is this happening? Why is God allowing this? And she said, I don't know. It was actually a good answer from Mom at that point. I didn't question if God was alive, that God loved me. Just like, why is this happening? And suddenly, as sudden as I was shipped to the hospital, the second one, I was actually able to go home and find out the doctors say they have no idea why I was able to go home. Because what I didn't know is they didn't know if I was going to make it. I remember going to school saying to my friends, they're saying, hey, we heard they didn't give you a good chance to make it. I'm like, oh no, it's fine. And finding out that the doctor said, no, they really didn't know which way it was going to go. My family knew. It's like, man, God healed me. The power of prayer, the power of what went on. And again, I remember that time, and some other stuff happened as I continued on in life. In fact, life happens, right? Of difficulty, trying to forgive someone, trying to work through that. But God continued to work and actually give me hope. People say, do you wish your life wouldn't have been that way, of those things? And I'm like, actually, no. Because every time those things happened, God showed up. Philippians 1:6 says this, be confident of this, that he who began a good work in you will carry it on to completion till the day of Christ Jesus. Isn't that great to hear? And I know that's how my parents lived out their faith. It's the people around me, how they lived out their faith. And people continue to do that to help give me hope in how I live. And that's how I continue to hopefully live, to give others hope that God is with them and ready to care for them and work in their life. That's my story. What's yours?